The Empty Child and the Doctor dances are excellent. Shock. Some of the most famously good episodes of Doctor Who are still excellent. Surprise. They're not perfect, I have tiny nitpicks, but there's basically no point in going into them, so let's move on. Boomtown, by contrast, is so staggeringly terrible, I have to do a plot summary to explain why, because, oh boy. 6 months after the events of World War III, Blonde, the surviving Slovene, is told about an imminent catastrophe involving a newly built nuclear power plant by a whistleblower, who she immediately murders. Pin it. Mickey arrives in Cardiff, knocks on the TARDIS door, and is greeted by Jack, who is a prick to him. Rose greets him warmly, and the Doctor is back to calling him Ricky, despite being supposed to be over that. Pin it. The TARDIS crew are in Cardiff to recharge the engines. They go out to lunch, where they banter. Blonde does a press conference, where a reporter interviews her. Blonde prepares to murder the reporter, but the reporter explains how tragic it would be if she died, and Blonde lets her go. The Doctor finds a newspaper with Blonde's photo on it. The TARDIS crew confront and catch her. The TARDIS crew established that Blonde was going to blow up Cardiff using the nuclear power plant, which would also blow up all of Earth, and then she was going to surf away on a planet on an alien surfboard, and this makes Blonde's second attempt to blow up Earth. The Doctor says they're going to take Blonde back to her home planet, Rexco-Falapitoris. And Blonde explains that her family have been convicted of crimes, and she'd be executed if she returns. Pin it. I need to take care of my dog. He wants to go outside and bark. Doctor takes Blonde to the TARDIS, and they plug the alien surfboard into the TARDIS. This means the TARDIS will recharge in 12 hours, rather than the 72 it's going to take previously. But that means they're stuck with Blonde overnight. Blonde says,
"You're not just police, though. Since you're taking me to my death, that makes you my executioners."
Precisely no one points out the difference between a legal system executing one person and one person blowing up an entire planet because they wanted to leave and were too lazy to build a spaceship. Mickey and Rose hang out outside of the TARDIS, where Mickey says,
"She does deserve it. She's a Slovene, I don't care."
Instead of, "She does deserve it, and she was going to murder everyone on Earth, I don't care," which is a pretty serious difference. This episode is determined to present Blonde's actions and the fact that Blonde will be executed as morally equivalent, and it genuinely makes me feel sick. Just to be extremely fucking clear, I am against the death penalty. I am an anarchist. I'm against the police and I'm against prisons. But just because I'm against the death penalty, that doesn't mean I can't call out bullshit moral equivalencies when I hear them. Back in the ship, Blonde persuades the Doctor to take her out to have a last meal. Blonde tries to kill the Doctor multiple times, just to demonstrate that she always uses murder to get what she wants. Mickey confesses to Rose that he's dating someone else. There's an awkward moment, and they continue on the Constitutional. Things get emo, and they're both just kind of awful to each other, and this scene makes me like both of them quite a lot less. Blonde explains how a public execution on Rexco-Falapitoris works. She asks the Doctor to take her to another Slovene family member away from Rexco-Falapitoris. He points out that she'll just do exactly what she's done up to this point. She says she won't, and the episode continues to pretend there's no other legal system in the galaxy the Doctor could take her to. Blonde accuses Ducky of being like a god because he plays with people's lives, and it's just so fucking hollow. Cardiff experiences an earthquake, and some adorable visual effects are zhuzhing out of a TARDIS. Blonde's surfboard is doing evil things. Blonde does the evil voice and captures Rose. Blonde, you see, knew she might get tracked by the Doctor, and they'd obviously plugged the surfboard into their ship, where it would open Cardiff's rift and blow things up, and this makes Blonde's third attempt to blow up Earth. The TARDIS opens its console and reverts Blonde into an egg, a move which meets the modern definition and also kind of the classical definition of a deus ex machina. The Doctor says they'll take her back to her home planet and give her to a different family, giving her a fresh start. And that is a solution to the problem, but it's a solution that relies on a deus ex machina, so you get no fucking points for that. Here, sunshine. Rose runs out looking for Mickey. Mickey broods in the distance and walks away. Rose returns to the TARDIS, and the three leave. Pin 1. It is adorable that Blonde was able to get this much done in 6 months. A few times in Series 1 of Doctor Who, Russell T Davies has presented a UK which is a great deal more competent than it actually was. In Aliens of London and World War III, a massive source of tension was provided by the fact that the UN had Britain's nuclear codes. They don't. No one has the UK has control of the UK's nuclear codes, by which I mean England has control of the UK's nuclear codes. And yeah, so like there had to be a thing where the Slovene couldn't immediately get their hands on the nuclear codes, but like saying it was the UN is just kind of like, it was 2005. We all needed to like hope that there were some adults in control of the world, because in the UK it was Tony Blair and in the US it was George Bush, and this is just kind of another example of that. Like they're going, oh yeah, Blonde can do all this in 6 months. It's just leaving aside how difficult it will be to get done. For a point of comparison, Hinkley Point C, which is a nuclear power station constructed near Cardiff, not in it, that began construction in 2017 and is due to complete in 2027. Pin 2, the Doctor's arc isn't. At the end of World War III, the Doctor had learned to respect Mickey, his bravery and his quick thinking. In this episode, he's back to calling him Ricky. To quote JXE,
deliberately getting someone's name wrong is not funny!
Getting people's names wrong isn't funny. There's also a thing about this in the next episode, Bad Wolf, but I'll deal with that when I get there. I've watched Bad Wolf, but I haven't watched the episode after that yet. So, other than being mildly cowardly, I'm not sure what Mickey did to deserve being treated quite this badly by the show. Other than being mildly cowardly, I've got a nasty feeling the Doctor's back to hating him because he didn't want to travel in the TARDIS at the end of World War III, and that's kind of shitty. Let's get to the big fucking pin. Executing Blonde. Blonde says they are executioners. Clip.
You're not just police, though. Since you're taking me to my death, that makes you my executioners.
Okay. The executioner executes someone. That means the executioner is the executioner. The person that leads the condemned up to the executioner's block isn't the executioner. The judge that convicts the perpetrator, the convict, and issues the death penalty, they're not the executioner, they're the judge. The jury that convicts the convict isn't an executioner, they're the jury. The police officer that captures the convict, they're not the executioner, they're the police officer. The victim who calls the police on the convict, they're not the executioner, they're the victim. It's just like you're doing this thing which is related to my execution, that means you're my executioner. Mate, it's fucking stupid. She says,
You're very quick to soak your hands in my blood. Which makes you better than me how, exactly?
oh, I don't know, Blonde. Like, their actions will result in one death. Your actions would have resulted in everyone on Earth dying. Like, it's a pretty straightforward, like, answer to your question, which no one gives you. Clip.
Let's see who can look me in the eye.
Like, this is supposed to be, like, a thing where Blonde has, made them see the truth of their actions. So, like, they all considered Blonde's execution to be this quite abstract thing, and she's, like, making them see the truth of it, man. And, like, if there is truly no other option, executing someone who has tried to kill everyone on Earth multiple times and has made it very clear that they will do the same thing again, maybe not to Earth, but definitely wherever she winds up, because all she has been shown to do is execute people, apart from let one journalist live. Like, it's fucking hollow. It's presenting the death penalty as this really bad thing, which it is. But the problem is, the show presents three options. 1, let Blonde go. 2, let Blonde go to be with another member of the Celine family, who are all apparently awful. Or 3, get executed. Right? It's presenting a world where there are no other options, and of those 3, executing Blonde is the correct thing to do. She tries to murder everyone on Earth 3 times in the course of this series. It's really bad. No one in the episode suggests a third place they can take Blonde to. None of our heroes do anyway. Blonde says it once. No one says, okay, Blonde, you have 12 hours, convince us why you should be allowed to live. Okay, you could say that this morally simplistic approach to Blonde's fate is due to it being a kid's show. And I think you're kind of right. Russell T Davies never really grew out of this whole "we're not so different, you and I" thing, which I'll get into a little bit later. Like, he did it in the series 4 finale where Davros yelled at him because the Doctor blew up the Dalek fleet, a thing he should definitely have done. And Davros was like, "See, this makes you and us, you're the same as me. All I have is an army of fascist murderers, and you killed the army of fascist murderers. That means you're a fascist murderer." It's so fucking stupid. But, right, okay. So, you could make the argument that this is a morally simplistic attitude because it's a kid's show. However, I am of the opinion that being a kid's show is no excuse for this bullshit. In my opinion, and it is only my opinion, because this is a kid's show, it's much, much more important that they don't write in bullshit moral equivalences like this. Because what this episode is presenting very confidently a situation where someone getting executed and someone blowing up all of Earth and killing everyone on Earth are morally equivalent. They're morally the same thing. And that is factually not true. One of those is much worse. They're both bad. Like, if you have a choice between executing one person and blowing up all of Earth, you should ideally do neither, but one is definitely less bad than the other. And, like, I wish the show had the fucking, like, empathy and curiosity to actually look into alternatives. I fucking wish Russell T Davies had the, like, right, like, it's just curiosity. Why can't we just explore some of the options? But no, we have these two options. Let's Margaret Slevine do what she wants or execute her. It's very 2005. It's very neoliberal. It's very New Labour. It's very, if one person dies, that's the same as all people dying. You're either with us or you're with the enemy. This episode thinks it is so fucking deep. It thinks it really presents itself as demonstrating some grand truth about the human condition, but all it's doing is the old "we're not so different, you and I" thing, which the show has already done once, and it didn't make any sense then either.
Why don't you finish the job and make the Daleks extinct? Rid the universe of your filth! Why don't you just die? You would make a good Dalek.
I genuinely don't know if I am expressing myself well in this. I don't know if I am over-egging the pudding, if I have made my case very clearly and I have properly demonstrated why I am so upset by this. I might be coming across as just someone getting really wound up over a children's show, it's a family show, it's not a children's show. Like, the UK in 2005 was a really messed up place. We were in the Iraq War. We were a few years away from a massive financial crash, and 5 years away from handing the country over to the Conservative government, who would go on to completely obliterate the country for the next 14 years, and then hand the UK over to the Conservative Party again, wearing red ties. And New Labour could have done many things to fix this problem. We could have had voting reform. We could have made it so that the UK newspapers are worker-owned cooperatives rather than being owned by billionaires. But no, we weren't allowed to do any of that because of stuff. And culture like this is part of the problem, because it presents us a world where there are two bad options, and the show doesn't even pick one of the fucking options because it deus ex machinas its way out of the situation. It's the same thing that Dalek does. Dalek presents two situations. You let the Dalek live, or you kill the Dalek. And to be fair to Dalek, Dalek at least presents one of those options as correct. Dalek wants you to let the Dalek live. And it doesn't actually, because it kills the Dalek at the end. Well, Rose tells the Dalek to kill herself at the end, and it does. But, like, for the majority of the episode, the episode wants you to let the Dalek live. Whereas in Boomtown, the show knows that you can't let Margaret go, and it really thinks you can't take her to execution. And the show doesn't go, well, maybe we should explore some other options. It just goes, well, these are the options. What are you going to do? Let's hope something magical turns up. I've just realised the plot summary and some like key points of the argument I've got written down, but I don't want to make it seem like I'm planning this. I have just realised one of my main problems with this. That is the none of these options are good, but we're not going to like explore any others, and we're just going to hope Deus Ex Machina shows up. That is the current UK Labour government's approach to dealing with climate change. The year is 2025. None of our systems work. The US has elected Donald Trump for a second time. In the UK, Boris Johnson was elected a Prime Minister, and then Keir Starmer was elected a Prime Minister. Both people are completely unsuitable candidates to run a country, and it is a damning indictment of our situation that any of these people were elected. Like, no healthy democracy would have elected Boris Johnson, Donald Trump, or Keir Starmer. I am absolutely done with art that behaves in the way Boomtown does. We need art that is better than this.